Good afternoon to Asia, good morning to Europe. A very warm welcome to all of you, to all participants, and also especially our speakers from Thailand. I'm very happy that you could make it to join our session about sugarcane production in Southeast Asia and especially in Thailand. So this morning we are having participants from 22 countries. I'm very happy about this so international group. And before I hand over to my colleague from the German Agricultural Society, Dr. Klaus Erdle, he is the moderator of today's session, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to the AGRITECHNICA Asia and HORTI Asia exhibition, which are hopefully taking place virtually and also on site this year in Bangkok. So the exhibition will take place in the end of May from the 27th to 29th. We do have, as usual, a very comprehensive conference program. Sugarcane, of course, will be one of the main topics. We expect about 300 exhibitors and online and on-site visitors about 10,000. So as shortly shown in the video earlier, what we would like to offer you, to offer the AGRITECHNICA Asia and HORTI Asia community, is a digital online platform where you already can connect before our shows. So you do have the option to, for example, search for products, for companies, and then of course directly connect with the right persons from the companies. You can also, so all participants, all speakers from this session are invited to join online, so you can connect afterwards with participants and speakers. And last but not least, you also have the possibility to, for example, have a look at today's recorded session again, see the slides, and also for the other AGRITECHNICA Asia digital talks, all recordings will be online in this tool. So Christy Lee already sent you an invitation. We do have about 1,500 user accounts, so you are warmly welcome. Now you are all here today, this morning, this afternoon, to listen to our speaker, Dr. Pipat, Mr. Rangsit, and Mr. Sarin. I'm sure it will be a very interesting session and hope for a very fruitful discussion. So now I'd like to hand over to Dr. Klaus. It's your turn.
Thank you, Katharina. And well, ladies and gentlemen, the business should be easy and sweet by its, of quite a bitter and competitive market. So how can Southeast Asia compete with countries like Brazil and the producers there? And what are the biggest challenges in Thailand and Southeast, like Indonesia or Myanmar? So DLG. And I welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to this bittersweet subject of sugarcane production in Southeast Asia today. Also, specialists from Thailand, Dr. Pipat Weerathaworn has a very good overall South. Dr. Pipat is in the National Research Council of Thailand and committee member of the Thai Society of Sugarcane Technologists. And I must say, he's an old friend of DLG as well. So, Dr. Pipat, we are looking forward to your presentation now. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. As Katharina said, good afternoon or good morning for European countries. Now, I would like to show you and share with you about the Southeast Asian sugar situation. That is my topic, and some presentation I will obtain with the general picture or holistic picture of sugar production, just globally, and I will focus on Southeast Asia sugar situation and give some remarks for some countries, especially in Myanmar and Indonesia. Firstly, I would like to start with global sugar production and consumption, which will not be changed so much. As you see that the biggest producer still in Brazil, even though Brazil produce sugarcane not just only for sugar but also for ethanol, but it's around 40-45% of sugarcane will be produced for sugar, which is more or less around 30 million tons. And whereas in India, number 1 or number 2, it depends on which year. And Thailand, certainly, Thailand still number 4 for the sugar producer, but just only number 3 for sugar cane or cane from sugar from cane production. But it is the ranking of global sugar producer, which is not changed so much. Thailand still number 4, but as I said, if we consider just only sugar from sugarcane, Thailand will be the 3rd one for the sugar producer. But in terms of exporter, Thailand still number 2. But actually, last year we were just only the 2nd one because Mr. Rangsit will tell you what happened for sugarcane production in Thailand. Now, focus on Southeast Asia sugar situation. I would say that I would like focus especially in ASEAN. We have ASA, ASEAN Sugar Alliance Group, amongst ASEAN countries. Mr. Rangsit is now secretary for this ASA or ASEAN Sugar Alliance. In Southeast Asia, we still have to import sugar around, let's say 9 up to 10, it depends on year by year. But according to the economic growth in Asia, I would say that we can see 10 million sugar import soon. Once economic growth will come back after COVID pandemic. And Indonesia is the biggest importer now. And also Indonesia is the biggest economy and largest country in this region because the population in Indonesia is almost 40% of total population in ASEAN. You can see in this graph, Thailand is number 1 of sugarcane or cane sugar producer, whereas the other countries in ASEAN can produce less than 5 million tons totally. But last 2 years, cane sugar in Thailand has been dropped a little bit, or not a little bit. You can see in Mr. Rangsit presentation. You can see in this table that Thailand can produce last year almost 8 million ton, drop from 14 or 15 million ton, whereas Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Myanmar not dropped too much compared to Thailand. But let's say sugar production in ASEAN or in Southeast Asia, Thailand can produce more than 50% of total cane sugar production. If you compare between production and also domestic consumption, you can see that Indonesia need more sugar, around 5 million tons each year, whereas Thailand has some sufficient or some oversupply, around 5, or actually in normal year we can export more than almost 10 million tons, whereas the other ASEAN countries has to import sugar from another countries. Yeah, that is the number of each countries will have to import sugar each year. Almost 10 million tons of sugar have to import into Asian countries. And not just only 1 year, but if you consider 5-year data, you can see that every country in ASEAN except Thailand has to import sugar from somewhere. If you see this table, that it shows countries positioning in sugar business, just only Thailand. Thailand is exporter, whereas Myanmar, Philippines, and Vietnam more or less can produce self-sufficient, but some years they have to import, especially in Myanmar. In Myanmar, sooner or later, Myanmar will be sugar importer according to the growing economics. And net importers mainly is Indonesia. Then, as I told you that 10 million tons of sugar can be imported soon or later once economic growth can be recovered after COVID pandemic. Now I would like to focus on these two countries. One is Myanmar, another one is Indonesia. Myanmar located in continental, whereas Indonesia located in Iceland. Myanmar right now, there are only 21 modern sugar factories, but I would say that 21 mostly is small scale or small capacity, less than 5,000 TCD, 5,000 ton cane per day. That is a crushing capacity. Another sugar producer that is like brown sugar or jacqueline, I would say that is local. That is a local sugar producer. I will show you the picture later on. You can see that I have traveled in north of Myanmar. You can see in the left-hand side, that is the recommendation from a government officer, and you can see the condition of sugarcane is not bad, especially in north of Myanmar. Sugarcane can be planted very well compared to Thailand because the level of sea level or the location is closely to north of Thailand. The climate condition is suit or appropriate to growing as well. But if you see the truck is very small and the old-fashioned old model. And in the middle, that is just a local sugar producer, like a brown sugar. After crushing, you can see the bagasse. Actually not bagasse, but sugarcane stem. After crushing, it will be laid down onto the field. That is the condition of Myanmar. Most of the sugar mills or sugar factory located in the center and in north of Myanmar, because in south of Myanmar, mostly in irrigated area and flooding area for paddy rice. And compared to Indonesia, right now there are 60 sugar mills in operation, and the major part, most of them will owned by state. It's around 2/3, and there are just only 20 belong to private, mostly in Sumatra. And you can see, but the total sugar or sugarcane is around 22 or 20, let's say 20 million tons of sugarcane, and 10% of sugar will be produced. It's around 2.2 million tons of sugar can be produced. This is show the location of sugar mill, mostly located in Java Island, and most of in Java Island located in east of Java Island. The modern one of sugar mills located in South Sumatra Island. I was there and realized that sugarcane production in this part is very high. I would say that around 90 up to 100 ton per hectare, whereas in Java area, in some area, just only 50 or 60 ton cane per hectare. But most of the sugar mills are very old in Dutch period, and some are now try to improve. You can see that sugarcane production is steady, is around 20 million ton of sugarcane. Why is that? I will show you later on. But Indonesian government try to have the policy to produce sugar self-sufficiency, but the main problem is competition. Let's say the benefit from each crop. Since sugarcane is annual crops, it's difficult to get benefit or cash flow of for the farmers. Is just only they can earn just only once a year compared to rice and maize production. Since Indonesia has good rainfall each year, they can plant the whole year round of rice and even maize or corn as well compared to sugarcane. And sugarcane production is very low. Sugar recovery in average is 10%, but in some areas just only 7% or 8% compared to the other countries. But the objective of the government try to improve sugar production in Indonesia. They have many strategies and try to convince and persuade to get foreign investor to invest in Indonesia as well. But if you see the rain condition from this graph, it shows rainfall and rain days pattern. Even though in 2015, but more or less it's like this. You can see that harvesting time is starting in June up to October, not longer than that, and some just only 3 or 4 months, the same as in Thailand. But if you can see the planting date is very short, whereas the rainfall, it rains too high as well, 200 millimeter per month is very high, and in some area is flooded as well. And you can see that growing period is just only 7 up to 9 months, and that's why sugar yield or sugarcane yield ton cane per hectare not so high compared to the other countries. Let's say that maturity is very short. You can see in this graph, actually I have visited research institute. I think they work very well. They have many sugarcane variety, which is fast growing variety. You can see in this picture, I took this picture from the farmer's field. I would say that the ton cane per hectare is higher or almost 100 ton cane per hectare. But the main problem is you can see that in land preparation, in the lower picture, some there is flooding water as well. And more than that, labor intensive from sugarcane plantation, they need a lot. And most of the farm sites are very small, just only 1 or 2 hectares per farmer or per family. And you can see the trucks or loader is very small. And in some year, there were a lot of rainfall. It's difficult to loading. That's why logistic cost of sugarcane is very high. You can see The road is not suitable for transportation. The truck is very small. They have to reloading. That's why the transportation or loading cost is very high. In some area, there will like a small stream and some flooding during harvesting season as well. That is the real picture. When I was there 5 years ago, I took from with my staff here. And you can see that is the biggest truck compared to Thailand, which is a 10-wheel truck or more than that. But in Indonesia, the road condition is not so good. Then transportation and loading capability for sugar mill is not appropriate or optimum for finance too. Then I would like to give you some remark. The key of sugar business in Southeast Asia is one sugar mill, you have to invest at least 100 million US dollar. That is high investment. Then you have to synchronize the operation of factory and farming sites as well. How to optimize that? It's not easy. And as I told you that in Indonesia, sugar yield is very not so high as in Brazil or in Thailand because of a short period for growing, and production cost is very high, especially transportation cost, harvesting cost as well, and cash flow for the farmers. They can earn just only once a year compared to the others competitive crops. Labor shortage may lead to mechanization, but due to the farm size is very small, efficiency of using mechanization may not suit for some countries. Then the last is like remark as well, how to improve productivities and costs. In terms of manufacturing, no doubt, but we have to focus on processing a little bit, how to extract efficiently. But the main of production cost is in farm site, how to manage logistic cane from farm to factory. And they actually, plantation technology is there, ready, but how to get the appropriate technology at each region. That is my question. But right now, sugar business is not just only sugar. Every investor should think about and take in consideration as well, how about the circular economy and bioeconomy utilize sugar or sugarcane as much as possible. That is my presentation. Thank you for your attention. If you have any comment, we can discuss later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pipat. That was, again, a very good overview of the sugar market, and I'm really impressed about your information. So I understand that two countries, Myanmar and Indonesia. In Myanmar, we have a very good climate and growing conditions for sugarcane. On the other hand side, we have low technological aspects. So there's potential for more technology. And in Indonesia, the climate is not that good for sugarcane production. A very short growing period, and infrastructure is a problem there. So now let's have a look into Indonesia, into Thailand, of course. So Mr. Rangsit Hiangrat, he's Director General of the Thai Sugar Millers Corporation Limited, and he's looking from a different point of view on the sugar market, of course, and especially for Thailand. We are now really curious to have your presentation now, Mr. Rangsit. So we had now Myanmar and Indonesia, and now we go into Thailand. The stage is yours. And he's preparing his presentation, the audience is asked to ask questions through the Q&A button on the lower end of your screen. you can always put in question and I will pick them out later on for the open discussion. So you have the chance now to get in contact with our experts here. So Mr. Rangsit, now it's yours.
Well, good afternoon from Thailand and good morning for the people on the other part of the world. Well, I'm Rangsit, as Director General of Thai Sugar Miller Corporation, which represents the three associations of Thai sugar mills in the country. So we have now 57 sugar mills, total sugar mills in Thailand are the members of Thai Sugar Miller Corporation or TSMC. Well, first of all, I would like to give you information about the nature of Thailand's sugar industry. First, in Thailand, we have 57 sugar mills located in four parts of the country: north, northeast, central part, and eastern part. And this year, this crop year, we're going to have another mill, new mill, starting commission very soon. That's located in the northeast of Thailand. So the total capacity, ton cane per day of the total 57 mill is about 1.2 million ton cane per day. And Thailand has a limited cane areas. Now it's about 1.7 million hectares, and almost 90% of the farms are small scale, average size about less than 5 hectares, and more than 80% of the cane area is rain fed. So the farmers, have to depend on the natural water, rains, and the sugar cane delivered to 100% of the sugar cane delivered to the mills comes from the farmers. So the mill in Thailand, they don't have plantation, so they have to buy cane 100% from the sugar cane farmers. Well, I would like to talk about what is the situation now? How is the situation of the production in Thailand? There are some key impacts that affect the sugarcane production. During the past 3 years, we have very bad weather. We have dried. You see that the picture that from 2017, we had quite good rain. And so the production in crop year of 2017 and 18 was around above 130 million tons. And then from 2018 and 2019, in 2019 we had very severe drought problems. You can see the picture, the orange colors and brown colors is where the area facing the drought. So, and also in the past 2 or 3 years, farmers receive low cane price as most, more than 70% of our total production, has to be exported out to international markets. So our sugarcane price linked with the world sugar price. Whenever the world sugar price is low, then of course the low they're gonna face the low cane prices. And then when farmers have got low revenue from sugarcane, then they look for the other crops. There are many competing crops like cassava, corn, and others. So during the past 2 years, some farmers have switched from sugarcane to cassava. Cassava right now, the cassava price is better. It's quite high during the past 2 or 3 years. And the amount of cane area in Thailand is about 80% of the total agricultural area. Mainly the 50% belongs to rice, and the rest belong to rubber, cassava, and palm oil, you know. And you can see that the graph, the production of our sugar and sugarcane production. In 2008, 17, 18, our cane production reached the record high, ever record in the countries. You know, we produced 135 million tons of sugarcane and 14, almost 15 million tons of sugar. And then 2018 and 19, it dropped down to a little bit to 130 million tons of cane. And still we can keep production of sugar at around 14 million tons. And last crop year, due to the bad weather, due to the drought problem, so our production of sugarcane dropped to 75 million tons, around 40% drop from the previous year. And this crop year, in 2020, we also faced dry weather, you know, even though we have good rain about 2 or 3 months before the harvest. So according to the interview with some farmers and miller this morning, some estimated that in particular the farmer size, they expect that this year cane production will be lower than 2019 and 20. So it will drop from 75 million to around, some say less than 65 million tons of sugarcane this year. When I talk to the millers, some say, yes, the production this year is gonna drop down below 70 million tons or less. So I would conclude that our production surely will drop between 65 to 67 million tons of sugarcane, which we can produce around 7.2 to 7.5 million tons of sugar. So these figures, I mean the production of 2020 and 2020, 2021 would be the lowest figure of production in the past 10 years. And we start our crushing this crop year on the 10th of December. So from that day to now, the cumulative cane crush is around 20 million tons, 21.5 million tons. And compared to the other years, the other previous years, it was around 25 to 26 million tons during the first 36 days. Normally, our cane crushing seasons would last about 120 up to 150 days normally. And this year, OCSB, Office for the Cane Sugar Boss, implement the green harvest policy that they would like to encourage the farmer to cut green cane. So OCSB has set the target of burn cane this year at about less than 20% of green cane. If you look at the past years, last year, 2019-20, the farmer delivered about 50% of green cane to the sugar mills. And this year we expect that, according to the figures, statistic since the starting of the season, right now, green cane is above 75% of the total cane crush. Why the government implement this policy? Because as you know that this is the picture, on the top picture, you can see that the hazy sky of Bangkok 2 days ago. So this is because a lot of dust particle in the air, and people blame for green burning as the source of pollution, air pollution. And of course, burning cane is also blamed by the people. So it's the industry is working hard, mills and farmers are working hard, working together in order to do, in order to make the target successful. And the bottom picture, this is the picture just taken a few days ago. You see that the trucks loading with sugar cane, but you see a lot of leaves. The farmer cut green, but they don't have laborers to take off trash and leaves. So that's why the condition of the sugarcane delivered to the mill this year is not in good quality. COVID-19 is also one of the key impact on the industry. Of course, it impact the consumption. You see that the number, the figures of domestic consumption in 2017, that was about 2.6 million tons of sugar for domestic consumption. But last year, 2020, drops down to 2.3 million tons, which around 10% decrease from the past 3 years. And this, what we expect that this 2020-21, that's the early estimation that our product consumption will increase again. Hopefully that the COVID or the pandemic will be under control. However, as the start of the second wave of pandemics last month, I would expect that the consumption of sugar locally this year might be lower than the previous year. When we see the overall picture of the sugar production, if we produce 7.2 million tons this year, and we use raw sugar, normally we use raw sugar for ethanol production and for other local industries around, like last year, it was about, the amount was about 0.7 million tons of raw sugar used in the local industry, around 500,000 tons used for ethanol production. And then we have another consumption by the export industry. Last year, it consumed about almost 500,000 tons, and plus white and refined for local consumption directly and indirectly, So we're going to have about 3.4 million tons for export availability, which means that Thailand will export less than the previous years, and is the lowest amount export in the past 10 years. And this is the overall picture of Thailand production of sugarcane and sugar, and the current situation of our domestic consumption. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rangsit. That was really a very good overview, especially for the last few years. There was a strong decrease of production due to the climate. It was similar in Europe as well. So that will be very interesting how it will go on the next years, actually. So in the end, I'm very proud to also have Mr. Sarin Na Wangkana, the Deputy General Manager of Wangkanai Sugar Corporation, here as a guest. So Wangkanai is a leading sugar company in Thailand, and he actually stepped in very spontaneously. So thank you for your time today. And you as a company, as a miller, you have a very different point of view to the production of sugar, I guess. And we are happy to have you now here, and maybe you can give us some impressions of your point of view to sugar production in Thailand. So the stage is yours.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good. Let me share my screen for you. Share screen. Melt. How do you share the screen?
Should be on the lower side of your screen. There should be share screen somewhere button.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It works, yeah. Something is working. It's loading. Yeah, looks good. And now full screen, everything is fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Sarin.
Perfect.
And I'm from Wangkanai Sugar in Thailand. So I'll give you an overview. What is Wangkanai Sugar? Wangkanai is a family business that does sugar in the past 50 years. So we cover about, well, capacity is about 1 million ton sugar. So roughly we did about $650 million in turnover. So total we have 3,600 employees and spread out into 4 factories. And we have about 38,000 farmers that deliver sugar cane to our factory, and all that is about 160,000 hectares of farmland. So all this we cover around 11,000 square kilometers of coverage area. So we can receive about sugarcane, 120,000 tons of sugarcane per day. So, and also we deliver sugar to about 100 countries all around the world. And our sugar is about an easy comprehension. We produce about 1% of the world's consumption of sugar. So that's for context of what is Wangkanai. And from this is actually agricultural base. So this is what we do. We get the sugarcane delivered to the factory. And after that, we deliver to the factory, we produce sugar for your consumption. For all the audience who are not in the sugar industry. And after that, the bagasse, we make electricity. And also part of it, we make fertilizer, go back to the farms. And this is the whole cycle of how sugar is made. This is for simple context. And with all that, we are more like a green company. So everything is green, organic in nature. So this is how we try to move out things. We break out from a lot of traditional stuff into this new area of technology. That's what we try to do. So anything that is differentiate itself, that will try to ingrain into our bloods and veins and what we do things. And mostly we focus more on the strategy, not the technology, but technology is only a tool for us to move forward. And we have employed in the past decade numerous technologies, including satellites, drones, analytics, AI, to help us forecast and predict more clearly what is the sugarcane yield going to be out like, and help forecast in the future. So we built quite up a highly competitive trail of digital trials. So we are one of the first organic sugarcane sugar that is certified by USDA, IFOM, and Japan organic everything, and I believe also Germany. And for the German viewers, we also partners with Bayern Munich. We come to help introduce football teams into Thailand. So we have that should make our German companions very happy. Okay. So what I have on the screen is context of what all the digital trails we have, which is beyond what we need to discuss for the topic of sugar, but that is just for the overview of how things has been done. So this is of history about myself briefly, which is more about technology and optimization of production. So that's how things we can go on before. And things are not being done alone. We have a lot of helping partners. And okay, so this is briefly about myself and how things are done. And I believe Dr. Klaus will have the session as a Q&A.
So I'm online again. Thank you, Mrs. Sarin. That was a short overview and a very good one, because you already put some aspects on the slides actually. And we actually do also have some questions from the audience where I'm very happy about, because the most important thing is to answer the questions of our audience. So there's one thing you already stepped in, Mrs. Sarin, and there's one specific question to you. If I read it out, actually, if you could look 10 years into the future, Mrs. Sarin, how has your company association developed? So what is it? Is it similar to today, or grown in structure? Or did you actually, that would be one question from my side as well, would you have converted to non-organic farming again, or to the whole organic farming sector? So what do you see as a future trend of your company actually?
Okay, so before we go to the looking to the forward into the future, we need to look backwards. In the past decade, the sugar industry as a whole has been focusing on increasing the value of the value chain. So we have seen biofuel, which is bioethanol produced, like what we see in Brazil in the past decade, which they can do swap based on demand, and which is price, which is better. that is the past decade of what has been come foreseen that we have seen in the sugar industry, which like my fellow speaker in the session is Dr. Pipat. He has a lot of experience in this field. And moving forward another decade into the future, what I have seen and what I've putting my effort into is the step forward apart coming up from bioethanol is bioplastics, which finding biodegradable bioplastics, which this will be the next future for our human race to increase the value out of the plants, carbon-based plants, and make it dissolvable. And the technology is moving along, which is very interesting, and we'll probably see this further development in the next 10 years, next decade.
Okay, thank you. And I just lead to Dr. Pipat. As Mr. Sarin said, you are very experienced in such topics. So biofuel, bioplastics, how does this fit together with somehow increasing demand of sugar worldwide? So if we put out sugar for other products and not for human nutrition anymore, will there be any competition, or will prices rise, or will they fall because sugar, the people are looking for lower sugar consumption? Dr. Pipat, where do you see the future of the product sugar? Is it only a raw product for other things like biofuel or plastics, or is it still mainly for human nutrition? So, if you are there, we cannot hear you. Dr. Pipat?
Okay. Yeah.
Still there?
I think that is
here you go.
that is a good question. But actually, that is, I would say that is synchronized, or we have to go together all of products. We cannot focus just only one or just a few products. If you think that, as Mr. Sarin said, sugar products that is need for human consumption somehow, we cannot miss it, and we need it as well in terms of sugar. And for biofuel, that is one solution for our environment as well, and bioplastic. But let's say that all of others co-products, or let's say bioproducts besides sugar, we need not so much volume derived from sugar. Even though sugar is low price but high volume, we need biofuel, gasohol as well. But for bioplastic, it is high value, and it can solve more or less the problem of environmental from conventional plastic. But we need not so much sugar as a raw material as well. And some other product, value added or high value product, that product need low volume of sugar or sugarcane as well. Then I think that this combination of business, we have to synchronize, and we have to consider what should the ratio, as Brazilian is doing now. But in Brazil, they are doing just only sugar and ethanol. But in the near future, we have to combine with other products, like Mr. Sarin said, bioplastic. But I would say that even we need other bioproduct, which is high price, and it might help the farmers living. But in terms of volume, it's not so much. I would guess that bioplastic, within 5 years, we need less than 1 million tons of sugar, which is very little volume. But in terms of consumption or in terms of biofuel, we need a lot of sugar or not a lot of sugarcane. 1 million liter of, I would say that 1 million liter of ethanol, we need around 5 million tons of sugarcane. That's roughly. I would say that I think that we have to think about the bioeconomy and circular economy in order to utilize all of raw material effectively.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really good point, actually. Maybe we will come back to that again later on. There are some other questions also to refer to technology, and I will sum it up somehow. And I will also ask Dr. Rangsit. You showed us pictures of with the problem of, on the one hand side, we want to make a green harvest to reduce the burning of the residues. Actually, on the other side, the quality is decreasing with green harvest because there are not enough labor or people or workers to remove the leaves. So leaves will stay on the cane actually until the milling procedure. So where do you see a point for development to improve this harvest situation somehow? Is there an idea, or do you see only a big challenge where there is not yet an idea for?
Well, thank you, Dr. Klaus. As I mentioned that the OCSB, Office of the Cane Sugar Board, has implemented this policy of green cane harvest. And this is very challenging for both farmers and millers, you know. In particular this year, during the pandemic of COVID, the farmers, normally in Thailand, we have to use migrant laborers from our neighboring countries, Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia. But this year, we face difficulty because the migrant laborers cannot allow to cross the border to work in Thailand. And one of the big problem for the farmers. And secondly, in Thailand now, we have only around, I think less than 2,000 sugarcane harvesters total in the countries. Mm-hmm. So Thailand still needs both laborers, cane cutters, and farm, and also the more sugarcane harvesters. If we want to cut 100% green cane, we need, I would say, more than 2,000 or 3,000 cane harvester now. You know, so we need 6,000, 7,000. So it's I would say that it's mechanization is investment. So in Thailand, more than 80% of small farmers, they can afford mechanization. But another way is to support this policy is that sugar mills. I think right now, most mills, they have their own sugarcane harvesters. They can afford buying more cane harvester and then deliver harvesting service for the farmers. That's one other way. Another way is that with the OCSB trying to promote the small SME to provide harvest, I think, service for the farmer. So but this is the issue is very challenging for us. And this year gonna be the example for the other later years, because this year less laborers, lack of laborers, we have to farmers have to adapt their doing business, whether they can continue to use labor or continue to use to change to use mechanization. And right now, OCSB also promote the farmers, support the farmer to buy. They have the kind of financial schemes for the farmer to buy small farm mechanization machinery like trash movers. I think that right now a lot of farmers, they can afford a trash mover, so to remove trash from the sugarcane before harvesting. And this situation, I think, would take more than 10 years until we can reach the target. Even though OCSB has set a very ambitious target that by the next 2 years, Thailand has to cut 0% burn cane. Is it impossible? No, I think it's in the long term. I don't know whether I have my answer is the
Yeah, it's perfect. So there is not only one way we can go. So we need some alternatives, and so the structure is very heterogeneous in Thailand and all the countries. So there is no one solution. So thank you very much for this answer. And there's one directly connected question also, maybe to Mr. Sarin. You are well known as a guy who is pushing forward smart technology and smart solutions. Would somehow help a digital tool for planning harvests in Thailand between your members, so to better plan the logistics of combine harvesters and so on in sugarcane production? Would that be a solution if something like that is already on the way?
The modernization of information technology has become so progressive that right now we're doing trial of smart farm with a low bandwidth frequency with NCTB, National Telecom, to provide frequencies for us to use. It's a LoRa sensoring, each in the farms, which the batteries can last for five years without charging, and submit data, CO2 levels, moisture in soil, and also a light intensity. All these data is collected, and all the water levels is what they call dam, sensoring in water levels, how to measure temperatures, sensors, moistures. All these data feed into our data center in Wangkanai to give us a more predictable and forecastable information, because we don't get these data beforehand from any government agencies and collaborate them all them. Right now we have about 2,000 data point collections that we have get these sensors deployed in this past year, and we're planning to roll out another 20 to 100,000 sensors data points to receive all these data to collect them more predictable, combined with all the tools of droids to go collect more data, and also satellite. We're also looking for other technologies that will help facilitate all these information to come join together and get a more predictable forecast. And there's, in this digital part also, I'm looking at computing on demand, that with all those data, we don't need real time that much. We'll probably need a data that can bring out information for us for the upcoming year, probably on a monthly basis. So like cloud computing, all this stuff can produce the results for us to guide for the next months going on. on a keep up on a whole big picture and overview. I think that should be a good answer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that. So there is something going on in digital way, actually, and actually every year we see things we would never have expected 1 year before. So it's very quickly progressing. And I got one comment from Dr. Pipat. Do you have some comment or correction on the question or comment? Please go ahead.
Yeah, just only about bioplastic. I would like to give some number that 1 million ton of sugarcane more or less can produce around 100,000 ton of bioplastic. That is already for the whole year round or the world-class capacity for the whole year round. But if we need 1 million ton of sugarcane can produce just only 60 or 70 million liters of ethanol, which is just only a few days. I would like to understand the volume.
Yeah, that's the difference, actually. But Mr. Pipat, one question directly to you, another one. You showed that, especially in Indonesia, due to the short growing season, the yields are lower and production is more difficult. Also in other countries, would improved irrigation systems be one solution to improve yields or quality in sugarcane production, or is there not enough water actually to, even if we have better irrigation technology?
Exactly, irrigation system will help and less sugarcane yield production. But I would say that actually, in order to reduce production costs, you should use just only supplementary irrigation. If you can provide 100 irrigation, the farmers won't grow cane anymore. They will change to grow another catch crop, which they can earn or get more benefit. Then, but actually 100% irrigation, we cannot cover all of Thailand or of wherever around the world. But we can just only use supplementary irrigation during dry period, especially for sugar, because sugarcane is annual crop.
Okay, so it could be an improvement for two things. One hand side to increase the sugarcane yield, and on the other side, the following crop can even have some of the water for itself as well, so have some advantage for the following season actually somehow. Exactly. Okay, and there's one question to Mr. Rangsit. We talked a lot about residues in sugarcane production, so especially when we do it in dry, when you do it in green harvest, so the residues will somewhere happen, actually at the mill then maybe. What about the residue management? At the moment, a lot of is burned. Would there be any alternative to use it for biogas production or for fodder or for mulching systems in horticulture? Would there be some kind of alternative to make a use of the residue somehow?
Yes, in Thailand, the most mills they produce the electricity. I think every mills they use the bagasse, trash, and leaves from the fields, to burn the boiler to produce generate electricity. And one of the way that to get rid of the residue. However, as the OCSP has promoted green harvest, which means that there's still a lot of trash and leaves left on the farms. So how we can manage, how we can sugar mill to support the farmer on this. I think many mills in Thailand already announced that, well, they offer the farmer 1 ton of cane leaf and trash at the milk gate at a price about 1,000 ton. So it's one way that we can add more income to the farmers. And I think many mills, Midpond and KT's group, they're doing. They encourage the farmer to cut green and then collect trash and leaf for the mills. And also, I think in Thailand we have 11 or 12 ethanol facilities that connect to the sugar mills. So they can use. We also most of the ethanol factories using molasses as the main feedstock for the production, and of course ethanol production will produce a lot of wastewater. So most mills, most factories, they use the wastewater from from ethanol factories to produce the biogas. So that's what's happening in Thailand. So there are two, and I think some of the dirt, what we call เขาเรียกอะไรฮะตะกอนขี้กรอง
filter cake
filter cake. Some mills they use it for production of fertilizer and to give back to the farmers, and some sales in the market, but mostly they offer the farmers to use as fertilizer in the fields. That's what is happening in Thailand now. Okay.
Thank you. So there are a lot of going on. So Mr. Sarin, Mr. Rangsit already said there is a lot of cooperation, especially with harvesting and residue management between the farmer and the millers. So how do you see for your company this kind of obstacle or challenge to manage straw? How do you manage it somehow? Or what are your experiences?
Managing the relationships with the farmers, right?
Yeah, and the point of the residue, so the straw management, leaves and so on, which is as well at the miller's side and also on the farmer's side, how to deal with the residues of when harvesting sugarcane.
We still do.
Yeah, the straw and the leaves.
Oh, okay. The residues and relationships. So during 20 years ago, when Australia started doing mechanized farming with the horsetop, we bring these harvesters back into Thailand, and we also had these courses of teaching of how to cut to crush, where all the leaves needs to be cut off and also the dirt needs to be removed. At that point, in order to increase the sugar content, not just the tonnage, which a lot of farmers has been very determined in trying to increase, which is not only the whole picture, but actually we need to get the cellulose at the sugar level, sugar content in the sugarcane into the factory. So education to the farmers is quite key and essential, but this is part of a really difficult and major challenge for us to communicate to the farmers when on drought seasons and high temperatures. So that means the CCS is not as satisfaction to the farmers. So they have more incentive to bring in this trash and residue included into the mills in delivery, and not trying to separate out these trash, which also cause problems to the tender mill for us, and sometimes rocks comes in and metal, which also decrease the efficiency of the factory. Trying to get this message to the farmers is quite difficult and challenging, which as an industry as a whole is still trying to find a good solution to this problem, and has not been into a good direction as of yet. Maybe this year will probably be even the worst because of the government policy of burnt cane, to reduce burnt cane. So the farmers, and also the pandemic has caused shortage in labor. So there's nobody to cut the leaves and residue in it. And this year is quite a very challenging. Like in the green sugarcane that we have received, more than 80% of them has not even been cut the leaves off. They just put it in. And per truck, on average, that normally used to get up to 20 tons per truck, goes down to 12 to 14 tons per truck, which is also another cost for the farmers. And this kind of efficiency will cause another major problem to the sugar industry in Thailand too, which is quite a major difficulty. If there's solutions to come and help solve this, will be very good.
Thank you. That's we see that this is really a problem, which increased actually with the labor shortage, and so the farmers are not able to work that exactly anymore because they have to hurry and have not enough support. So this will actually increase the situation, or increase the pressure of the situation. Thank you. So maybe one question to all of you, and I guess Mr. Pipat, Dr. Pipat can answer maybe as a very experienced guy, of course, as well. So what about subsidies from the government on using specific technologies? Maybe especially in Indonesia, there was one question from the audience. Is there any future action to be seen that there will be subsidies for the use of specific technology, like maybe mechanical harvesting, which would improve the quality for milling in the end, or something like that? Dr. Pipat, do you know anything like that, or is there something evolving?
Actually, in Indonesia, the government will not subsidize something in sugar industry, including in Thailand too, according to the WTO regulation. I think we cannot subsidize directly to the farmers, but for the banks, like in Thailand, we do have some program. If I'm wrong, Mr. Rangsit can correct me as well. We have like a low interest rate for mechanization, like only 2 or not more than 2 or 4% instead of 6 or 8%. But in this case, sugar factories or sugar millers has to be involved in terms of bilateral or something like that to promote mechanization by using loan from the bank directly, not from the government. And in Indonesia, it's not easy compared to Thailand because the farm size is very small. And in terms of harvester, I would say that it's not possible for the local farmer to invest by themselves. Sugar mills will invest, but in Thailand, the farmers can invest by themselves or as a group, or even millers can invest for that.
Great, thank you. So with a look on my watch, I will have to say thank you to you, my speakers, Dr. Pipat. Thank you very much for your insights into the whole Southeast Asian market. So it's always good to have you in the team. Thank you for that. And Mr. Rangsit, Thank you. You told me yesterday it's the first time you make this kind of online session, so you did it perfectly. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to have you another time as a guest.
Okay.
And Mrs. Sarin, thank you again for sharing your time, for this spontaneous stepping in and giving information to our audience. That was really perfect. Thank you, all three of you. And hopefully we meet in person very soon when traveling is possible again. And I would really looking forward to visit you in your countries and have a real sugarcane production in your companies as well. Thank you again.
Okay.
And our audience, thank you as well. Thank you as well for your question. There were a lot of questions, not all we could get into this discussion, but of course we note those questions and will maybe address them to actually to our speakers, and you can get in direct contact. Therefore, use also our digital platform of AGRITECHNICA Asia. You can directly connect with other customers, with other partners of this talk as well. And I want to highlight the next days of our events. So tomorrow, same time, same place, have an Asia Pacific Trading Summit, a small one, so it's a preview, but there will be very well-known guests like one person of our ministry in Germany, guys from India, Indonesia, Myanmar, and also a representative of our Technology Association of Germany. So you're welcome to step in tomorrow as well. And on Thursday, we will have a similar talk, but then it's going for silage production for dairy farming in Vietnam and Thailand. Very good speakers there, and it's maybe a kind of similar with harvesting and management like for sugarcane, but the aim is, of course, and the product is, of course, very different. And on Friday, we have fruit and vegetable production in Vietnam. And if you don't join the next few days, hopefully we will meet in May 2021 for the live AGRITECHNICA Asia and HORTI Asia in Bangkok. Hopefully everything will be fine. Until then, we can travel again and stay healthy, stay interested for our program, and hope to see you again. Thank you again, and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.